one of the university's leaders is finding a new home next year. U of I Chancellor Robert J. Jones announced he was stepping down at Illinois just 3 months ago. Now the search is on for his successor, but in the meantime, UI7 Newsroom's Peter Hansen joins us with more on Jones's next move.
Jones is set to make a cross-country move to Seattle next academic year. He signed a contract to serve as the University of Washington's president for the upcoming 5 years. Jones served 9 years in Champaign-Urbana, and he left quite the legacy. Enrollment increased 26% over the course of his tenure. He also launched both the Carle Illinois College of Medicine and the Illinois Commitment, which guarantees free tuition for students with family incomes under $75,000. Looking to the future, University of Illinois System President Tim Killeen is working with a search committee to find Illinois' next chancellor. The committee is made up of 15 people from students to college chairs. Candidate interviews start in April, and the committee hopes to select Illinois' next chancellor in May or June. It'll also look for nominations from the public, which they're still accepting. So if you want to nominate someone, you can do so on Illinois' Chancellor Search website.
Thanks, Peter. Now our show is coming to you live this morning from the University of Illinois campus, but soon our school is going to get a little bit more expensive to attend. The U of I System Board of Trustees voted to raise the cost of housing, tuition, and other fees starting fall 2025. Costs will go up by 2.2% for in-state students and 4.4% for out-of-state students. The U of I system says it will, quote, help the universities meet rising costs driven by inflation. The modest increase follows tuition freezes in 7 of the previous 10 years, part of the University of Illinois system's commitment to maintaining affordability and access.
And institutions nationwide are panicking after President Donald Trump signed orders to pause funding from several programs, including foreign aid, environmental policies, and diversity initiatives. Public universities are not an exception. Financial aid, DEI programs, and research grants are already taking hits. The cuts were supposed to take effect last week, but 22 states filed a lawsuit challenging the decision, resulting in a temporary block. Governor J.B. Pritzker will address the funding uncertainty during his budget proposal this Wednesday. And Illinois is already experiencing a $3.2 billion revenue loss for the fiscal year of 2026.
And one campus community space is also questioning what the future looks like for their organization. The Bruce D. Nesbitt African American Cultural Center is reducing open hours and putting their early arrival program on hold this summer. Administrators cite rising costs and that the grant funding these programs has run out. Last week, Student Affairs hosted a meeting to address these issues, but attendees were still left with questions. I had the opportunity to speak with James Hintz and Dominic Cobb from Student Affairs to get more insight on the situation.
Yeah. I have a couple of additions around the idea of the budget. One of the misnomers that have come out is the idea that the cultural centers were in some way being defunded, which the Vice Chancellor was really clear with us. That is not the plan. That has never been part of the conversation. So I wanted to iterate that and also circle back to the conversation about how the budget looks. What our budget process is every year we would go before the Student Fee Advisory Committee and recommend what we would need for the next year. So when that occurred last year, we looked at what the needs would be and recommended a budget amount. That goes through the process of SFAC approving it, and then it goes to the campus level and ultimately to the board. Unfortunately, what we received moving into the FY25 school year was essentially a flat funding. Technically, there wasn't a cut. There simply wasn't an increase that would allow us to account for some of those cost limitations as well.
So many are concerned that the nature of this conversation is kind of coming at the height of DEI, and we know that DEI is under threat. A lot of us are worried about it, myself included. A lot of students, more particularly when they heard that BNAC was essentially being defunded in the way that you said, are worried that it was about DEI and worried about it being black faces that were no longer getting the funding that they once had. Can you assure students that this is not concerning DEI and it's just concerning budgets? And if if like the U of I does have a commitment to DEI. I know obviously you all do not work in the DEI department, but how do you plan to make sure that students feel safely in terms of, you know, their place here on campus?
I think it's important to underscore the communications that we've received from the campus. Illinois' values have not shifted. There have been some executive orders that have rolled out that are limiting in the DEI space and frankly a lot of other spaces around campus. And the campus has reassured us that what we have to do is stay the course. They have created committees to look at all of these executive orders as they are coming out and figure out what are those implications for campus? How do we prepare ourselves to answer and comply with those legal, those changing legal standards as they come out?
Yeah, so if I'm being completely honest, I had the opportunity to attend both the meeting that they hosted and also obviously do this interview. And I do think that the interview was a bit more productive in terms of answering students' questions. I do think students will still have questions for them after watching the interview, but we did get to touch on topics like Project 500, which was an initiative to get more Black and brown students here at the University of Illinois. And then we also got to talk about food incentives, because those are kind of being cut down around campus. And you know, BNAC has a food pantry. They also host Food for the Soul every Wednesday at 12 p.m. And how those programs will be affected. And so we got to talk a little bit more about a lot of other things that I think that was very productive for the interview, and honestly very productive for them in clearing kind of their name in terms of what it'll look like for the next few years.
Sounds like a great conversation.
Thank you so much. After the break, UI7 Newsroom's Kaylee Hill joined in on another group shenanigans this week.
Yes, I did, Vicki. Stay with us to see why students are coming together for an unexpected sport. Plus, you've heard of fantasy football, but what about a sport that uses actual magic? We're sitting down with a group of students bringing their fandom to life on the field. Don't go anywhere.
Spring break is right around the corner and your apartment could be in danger. Peter, how are you keeping your apartment safe this break?
Well, Vicki, I can't give up that information so soon, but don't worry, after the break, I'll give you the rundown on how to keep your apartment safe while you're away. And the way you travel home for spring break may be seeing some much needed improvements. Stay with us.
After the break, women's health care is a crucial part of our medical system. Stay with us to see the work one group is doing to improve this field. Plus, women on campus are getting involved in all kinds of sports. See how these ladies are breaking gender barriers one race at a time.
We are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Black History Month is coming to a close, but there is still so much to celebrate. Plus, how film fanatics on campus are showing their love for the silver screen. Stick around.
University professors are doing a lot of cool things outside of the classroom, and chemistry professor Jordan Axelson has picked up an interesting hobby. Our Kaylee Hill had the opportunity to take a closer look.
I do teach, but I am not quite at the level of like an official circus performer or anything like that.
But so what fueled you to do it? Like, honestly.
I mean, I think it started out as just curiosity and just thinking it looked really cool and just wanting to try it. And I think for me, I don't know, I get lost in my head and like overthink things a lot, and there's something about having to be like fully focused on like the awareness of your body and like what you're doing that's just like very centering and like very peaceful. Yeah.
Now, I did do a little bit of Instagram stalking. First off, where did that name come from?
Neonium, that comes from partly a band that I was a really big fan of out in California. They were very like brightly colored, like the costumes and everything was like very brightly covered, very colored, very upbeat. So it's a little bit in honor of them. And then I'm a chemistry professor. So the IUM ending is the ending of a lot of elements.
Wow.
So it just kind of came together and I went with it.
It looks like Kaylee got a chance to learn some new moves. Let's see what they came up with.
Stop stepping on my fans. Okay. Yeah, all right. So we do our squiggles, and then we do our 3 circles. 2, 3, and then we cross in front of our faces. Go down, and then throw it over our heads. We do our little turn. Then we go back down, and then we do 2 beats, and then the little splash in the front.
Art and expression is really all around the Champaign-Urbana area. Our producer Ashley Gilbert got a chance to sit down with a local artist who found her love for painting well into her adult life. Clara de la Fuente is an engineer from Spain who went from a painting class in Chicago that changed her life forever. She learned she loved painting views of outdoor scenery and abstract creations. Her main inspirations come from photos she takes in her travels around the United States and the world. De La Fuente started painting in 2017 and began selling her work in 2021. She promised herself that no matter what, she would pursue this passion.
So when I made myself this promise, I was standing at the beach and there was like these waves going on. This is Lake Michigan right there. And that was the last day of my vacation, so I packed my stuff, went back home to this same studio, and in that table over there, I took this photo, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make a painting as a reminder of the promise I made to myself to follow my dream.
Speaking of art, we've got some art materials here in front of us, and we're going to be doing a little game where we're going to be painting and then switching paintings every 30 seconds.
Shout out to the art majors, because
Right?
they're definitely crying watching this right now.
Okay, so sorry. If we've ever had you on the show and you're watching now, we are so sorry. Okay, time is up.
Time is up.
Final reveal.
Final
Ready?
reveal.
And health isn't the only field facing funding cuts and job loss. The National Park Service is trying to recover from a much different kind of fire. The Trump administration is bringing back some National Park Service employees. This comes after almost 1,000 of them were fired to downsize the agency. Now the president is hiring them again. Trump has hired almost 3,000 seasonal workers to help with the upkeep of national parks, according to a memo from Park Services. Despite that, the president has yet to nominate a Park Service director.
Students are feeling the effects of these cutbacks as well. UI7 Newsroom's Hannah Lonergan had the chance to sit down with one student who was concerned about whether the field she studied at our university will even exist after she graduates.
I think a lot of my initial reactions have been like pretty emotional. It's a lot of frustration. I've been studying environmental sustainability for the last 4 years, so I've obviously put a lot of time and energy into this field, and a lot of the programs that they're cutting are like very adjacent, and just spending so much time in this area and seeing my prospects kind of disappear that's definitely been hard to see. It's sad because there's we need these programs and this funding to continue research and growth in the sustainability sector, and it just feels like a step backwards in a place that we don't really have time to step backwards.
There is a lot of uncertainty about the future of research and the environment, but looking closer to home, students continue to pressure our university to divest from fossil fuels. If you remember last week, we spoke with a representative from Students for Environmental Concerns. They are supporting a referendum to hold the university accountable for their promise to end fossil fuel usage.
Plan of action is to, if that referendum does get passed, which we hope it does, to use those numbers to push the universities.
And Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has made environmental preservation one of his priorities as well. Illinois is working on paving the way to 100% clean energy by 2050. Pritzker put this into effect by signing the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, which outlines an incentive program for those who purchase electric vehicles. Even with the uncertainty of federal funding, the EV rebates will be given out to Illinois residents this year, solidifying Illinois' stance on climate change and devotion to moving away from fossil fuels.
Yeah, so Peter, let's circle back to that first interview. I know she was mentioning spending 4 long years at a university and then not knowing if she would be able to get a job post-grad. I can't even imagine how someone would feel, how I would feel if I was put in that place. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, in the job hunt right now, I'd imagine hearing back from jobs you're applying to that the job isn't even available anymore.
Yeah.
It's got to be hard to hear, especially when you're as passionate about something as clearly as FIA is. And